Dude, sick Honda, bro.
Well, it's a fucking Acura, first of all.
Come on. Bring us some warmth. It's cold in this bitch. Essentially 90% done with the engine bay. There's a few things I'd like to button up, maybe dress up a little bit, but other than that, it's about done. Everything's pretty much in its place. Maybe new valve covers. These are ugly, or just paint them, whatever. I can get it to operating temp now. We got coolant in there. Timing's set. I have it set at like 15, 16 degrees, something like that. This carburetor, I do believe, might just be too much. Might be too big. I'm not 100% sure on the size because it doesn't have a choke horn and it's hard to read the numbers off this and get a definite answer on the CFM on this carburetor. All I know is it's a 4150 double pumper mechanical secondary carburetor. That's all I can tell you for certain on what this is. It might just be too big. From looking up what the numbers I do have on this carburetor is it could potentially be an 800 CFM, which for a 302 is just, I mean, that's way too much. So what I have over here, actually, my dad has this on his 327, is this is a 600 CFM, which is more ideal for a 302 small block Ford. I'm gonna have to rebuild this. I may or may not mill off this choke horn. Obviously, I removed the choke. I might just leave the choke horn for now. Need to rebuild this carburetor. I have a Holley rebuild kit. So we'll rebuild this carburetor. Hopefully it'll idle better. This idles super well. If I drop the idle down to around 900 RPM, air's on the lean side. The headers also get really hot, which could be because it's too lean. They'll actually start glowing pretty much. I can tell that it's too lean because I actually do have an AFR gauge right there. I have a wideband. Just loosely mounted in place until I get the dash in and get that all buttoned up. But I can read that. If I can richen it up, it idles too high. The RPMs are too high. And or whenever I adjust my idle screw, I think I could just be not in the idle circuit anymore. It could be opening up too much whenever I adjust that to compensate and give it more fuel, I guess you could say. So yeah, I just think I need to start off with a smaller carburetor. That way I have a lot more resolution. And this also, whenever I take this off, I'll show you, but the butterfly flaps, they're already drilled. They have holes drilled in them, so it could just be way too lean from that. We're gonna take this carburetor off, take some parts out of this carburetor, put it on that carburetor, and I got a rebuild kit for that one, so we're gonna hopefully get that figured out. Because that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I have the timing set, and I think it's 15 degrees initial. They say on a factory 302 you want it just like 10 to 14 degrees. So we're within that range. So I'm on a higher side because it does have a cam in it. I wouldn't say it's too aggressive, but I would definitely say it's more aggressive than a factory cam. It's a trick flow. It's a TFS stage 1 cam, so that might be part of the issue as well. It might just be too much of duration. I'm hoping. So I want to get this thing to idle, like nicely, and not glow red on the headers and or not be too freaking lean. And then also whenever I shut the car off, you get a lean pop coming out of the exhaust. So it's just, I don't know, I think it's all fueling related. And I also have it set, fuel pressure set at 7 PSI. I'm pretty sure the floats were set up fine. I'll have to double check that whenever I put that one on. Adjust that. But yeah, I need to take this off. Go from there. There it is. The old carburetor. I just took the fuel log off. I'm draining the bowls right now. Took these bolts out, draining the fuel out of the bowls. That way I'm not getting fuel everywhere. I got the metering blocks taken off, the bowls taken off, and I could pretty much tell you why it's running lean. Those are some big holes in those throttle blades, and all 4 of them. Yeah. That'll probably do it right there alone. Here's also a difference between this metering block on the secondary on that 600 and my unknown engine. Well, I ended up doing it anyways. But with this metering block, a lot of the times, at least on this one, came with 2 power valves. So they're right there is a power valve. That opens up under a certain amount of vacuum, allows more fuel. On this, there's nothing. It's just blocked. Which I ended up doing anyways. On this, I put a little, that's just a thread-in blocker anyways, because it used to have a power valve. But that just shows you this one's just not as hopped up. Which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but I think it'll help with drivability on something that's mildly stock. Keep in mind, all that's really done to this engine is it's a 302 with a cam, GT40P heads with stock rockers, stock pedestal 1.6 rockers, and it's got new springs, new valve springs. That's really it in terms of the engine. Everything else is stock, and it's got a turbo on it. That's it. So I'm hoping this 600 will help do the trick. Alright, what I'm doing is I'm trying to scrape away the old gasket material. This thing has been on here forever and it is really stuck, so I'm using this razor blade to try to get as much of it off as I can. Here's one that still has that gasket on here. With my new kit, I have these blue ones. These are like they're supposed to be like non-stick, so they come off pretty easy. So that's going to be replaced, but first I got to get all this gasket material off, which is being a pain. It's really on there. Just mixed some JB Weld. Took the choke blade out of here, and whenever you do that, so I'm doing blow through. So whenever you do blow through setup, you don't want any vacuum leak. And where the linkage is for the choke blade, it goes through this hole right here. So I just JB welded that hole. Put a little piece of tape there so it doesn't fall through. But you also want to JB weld on the top of your metering box or epoxy, whatever. Basically there's some freeze plugs there from factory whenever they cast these, and whenever it exceeds pressure, it's possible for those freeze plugs to pop out. So it's a kind of a fail-safe to JB weld tops of those. Those are all clean. Here's the old bowls. I'm just going to use the bowls that I had in my other carburetors because it already has the nitro-fill floats in there. And yeah, you want to run nitro-fill floats because the brass ones can actually crumple up under pressure. These are the old brass ones. So yeah, I'm just going to run the old bowls. I already got it set up, so those are fine. Same thing. And yeah, I got to let all this stuff dry. And then I can start rebuilding the carburetor. And then hopefully we're good. Hopefully this thing runs better. I mean, it runs, but hopefully it'll actually idle. And I think it will. It should have a lot more resolution now. It's not gonna be so drastic. It was so lean. I just could not richen it back up. Now, if anything, it should be too rich, which I would rather have at the moment. Boom. Rebuilt. I think. Well, we're gonna find out here shortly.